Hey everyone, it is great to have you back. Today, I want to share something really personal, something that took me years to understand and cost me a lot of money. I am talking about my biggest investment mistakes, the ones that led me to lose pretty much everything I had saved up in my 20s. It was a tough lesson, but it turned me into the person I am today, someone who is obsessed with helping others avoid the same pitfalls. I am not here to tell you how to get rich quick, because honestly, I have tried that, and it failed spectacularly. My goal is to share my real-life painful experiences so you can make smarter choices with your money, especially if you are in your 20s or just starting out. When I was younger, I came from a pretty average background, nothing fancy. I did not really understand how money worked. Beyond just saving some of what I earned, then I started seeing all these ads and stories about people making huge returns on investments, sometimes overnight. The high-yield promises were everywhere, and I got totally sucked in. I thought, this is it. This is my chance to finally make some serious money and get ahead. I jumped in blindly, following whatever seemed popular at the moment. Without really understanding what I was doing, it was a classic case of chasing trends, listening to rumors, and buying into whatever was hot. I was constantly buying high and selling low, driven purely by emotion and the fear of missing out. I made so many mistakes. I got burned by short-term trading, thinking I could time the market. Spoiler alert, you cannot. I fell for scams that promised unrealistic returns because I wanted to believe them so badly. I invested too much money in single assets without any risk management, which meant when things went south, they went really south. My emotions were all over the place, and I let them dictate my decisions, which is probably the worst thing you can do in investing over time. I watched my hard-earned savings, the money I had worked so hard to put away, just evaporate. It was a gut-wrenching feeling, one I would not wish on anyone. It was not just a little bit of money, it was my entire nest egg, everything I had put aside for my future. After hitting rock bottom, after losing all that money, something clicked. The pain of those losses was so intense that it forced me to confront my own ignorance and my desire for instant gratification. I realized that my approach was completely wrong. I had been chasing fantasies instead of building a solid foundation, so I decided to do things differently. I stopped looking for shortcuts and started really learning about proper financial planning and investing. I dove into books, articles, and reputable courses. I learned about diversification, risk assessment, long-term strategies, and the importance of not putting all your eggs in one basket. I let go of the idea of getting rich overnight and embraced the idea of steady, sustainable growth. Now, my investing philosophy is completely different. I focus on low-risk options and consistent savings. I am not looking for the next big thing. I am looking for stability and peace of mind. I am not afraid to talk about my past mistakes. In fact, I embrace them because they are the foundation of my current knowledge. I am not an expert, but I am someone who has been through the fire and come out with valuable lessons. I share these stories, these painful but necessary experiences to help others avoid the same fate. My hope is that my journey can be a cautionary tale and a guide for anyone who wants to learn about money and investing without having to suffer the same losses I did. It is all about building a solid financial future, one smart decision at a time, and understanding that patience and knowledge are your greatest assets. Let us dive into some actionable strategies, things I learned the hard way that you can apply right now to avoid the kind of mistakes I made. The first strategy, and in my opinion the most crucial one, is the elimination principle. This is absolutely critical. You need to become obsessed with elimination. Here is the truth. Most people try to do everything and they end up achieving absolutely nothing. But fast progressors, fast learners, and people who actually put these principles into action, they are ruthless about cutting out noise. They hyper-focus on one specific thing, specifically in business, for example, and they end up compounding their wins, which we will talk more about in a couple of minutes. I cannot tell you how important this is. If there is any tactical advice I can give you, it is this. Write down everything you are currently working on. I do not care if it is school, business, or personal stuff, then circle only the top 3 things that directly move you towards your main goal. Whether that is a net worth goal, an income goal, or a fitness goal, everything else either delegate it, delete it, or delay it if you really need to. This is the 80-20th principle. In action, 20% of your activities drive 80% of your results. That is elimination. That is focus. That is how you move faster. You have to get rid of the noise. I cannot tell you how many things I have had to say no to, even recently with potential partnerships or even sponsors. Some of them might even be scammy, but I just look at them and think, I have to stay focused on my main thing. I would rather promote my own stuff than someone else's product, for example. So that is what I am dealing with in real time. You guys may be dealing with something similar, so just always remember, focus will never hurt you, especially in the long-term strategy too. Learn like your life depends on it, because it probably does, and learn with AI specifically if you can. This is about learning acceleration. Most people learn passively. They might watch some videos, read some articles, they just consume, but they do not actually learn. And at worst case, they do not even apply anything of what they were just taught, even with my videos. I know people who have been stuck in the same position for months after they commented on a video, and then it is like, well, they are in the exact same spot. I have had some consult calls like that too. So here's what fast learners or fast progressors do differently. They actively recall after every single learning session, video, or podcast, whatever it is. They close the book, close the video, and they try to teach the concept back to themselves or someone else. I know I did this, and I had troubles with this too in my early days. This forces your brain to actually process and retain the information. And the secret sauce, in my opinion, is to study failures, study people who have messed up, who have had 10 business failures, because it is not just successes that drive this thing forward. While everyone else is reading success stories, you need to be analyzing what went wrong and why. This lets you skip years ahead of trial and error. In my opinion, that is what I would pay for. What did they mess up on? So I do not have to make the same mistakes. I could trim my learning time from 5 years to 1 year if I just learned from this guy's mistakes. Whether that is a billionaire or just someone a couple of steps ahead of me, it does not matter. So everyone else is focused on the other stuff. This lets you skip those years of trial and error, like I said. So find someone who has already achieved what you want, even if it is through books, podcasts, or online content. I do not care. And then reverse engineer their process. Do not reinvent the wheel, literally. Just copy what works, then adapt it to your situation. And a quick tip, plug all your learnings into something like Claude or GPT because it can pull from so many other data sources. So if you find an article on a guy who failed with 3 different businesses, say, hey Claude, can you please pull other data or other failures that this guy has had that I am not seeing from this one blog post? Link it, and it is going to spit back a ton of information that you can use in the future for your other learnings. This is huge. This is where I'm going to mention my consult calls here. I have been not only talking more about this stuff, but if you just want my more overall content strategy, how I come up with video ideas, my business backend, or any of that, I am happy to share over a consult call because I am getting a lot more questions around this. How I am using AI on a daily basis. I am always happy to share more of what I am doing day to day to help you make more money. So the link will be in the description for that. Let us get into strategy number 3. Systems beat goals every single time. Goals are what you want. Systems are actually what get you there. Instead of saying, I want to lose 20 pounds, create a system I work out for 30 minutes every morning before checking my phone. Or instead of, I want to build a business, create a system, I spend the first hour of every day working on my business before anything else. The magic happens in those daily habits. And that is what I am talking about with compounding. A 1% improvement every day leads to being what, like over 30 times better, whatever that math works out to be in a year. And that is not motivation. That is just raw math. But the key is you need to design your environment to make good choices automatic. Want to read more, put books everywhere, and literally hide your phone. You want to eat healthier, prep your meals on Sunday. If you want to remove friction from good habits, then do that and add friction to the bad ones. There is always a way around this stuff. You just got to be the one to find it. Strategy 4, work backwards from what you actually want. I know I am repeating another point here. This is just basic reverse engineering. Most people start from where they are and then try to figure out the next step. They try to figure out what is next for them, and then by default, you are walking through mist. You do not know where you are going, and that is okay in most cases. But long term, you need to figure out and work backwards from where you want to go. So fast progressors start from where they want to be and then work backwards. Let us say you want to make $100,000 next year, work backwards from that. That is $8,330. $3 a month. That is a little over $2,000 a week, $400 a day, or a little over $400 a day. The question becomes, what specific actions generate $417 of value every single day, not just $100,000 a year? Because I did this all the time. I am telling you guys, learn from my mistakes. I made that stupid point in my early years in 2020, 2021. I would always say, I want to make 6 figures, and then I never hit it because I did not have anything quantifiable to actually work backwards from. And side note, that is why I love sales, because that may be one solid close per Dalton Y on a good offer. You are making at least $400, $500 a day. So anyways, that is besides the point. This reverse engineering stuff, it reveals the shortest path and eliminates years of wandering, years of just hands over eyes and not being able to see anything. It also shows you that most conventional timelines are completely nonsense. People say it takes 10 years to master something because that is what they have been told, not because it is true. You can master stuff in a year, even sometimes less. So question everything. Most limitations are mental. They are not actually even real. Strategy 5. Embrace strategic incompetence. This sounds a little bit messed up, but it sounds a little counterintuitive, but it is crucial. Embrace being bad at things initially, guys. Trust me, we are all bad. I was horrible at sales at one point. I was horrible. I have always been horrible at school and book reading. I am not good at that stuff. Most people avoid it the second it happens. That is when they are walking away, and that is how you can beat 9 out of 10 people, and that keeps them stuck in their comfort zone. Fast progressors understand that incompetence is just temporary. They are willing to look stupid for a short period of time to become competent faster. They ask dumb questions, they fail publicly, they iterate quickly, and that is kind of just what I have really learned. These last 4 or 5 years, who cares about looking smart? I optimize for learning speed and not the other way around. So take action before you feel ready. Trust me, perfectionism is not doing anything for you. It is like fear disguised as virtue. It makes you look cool on the surface, but it is not fixing anything. It is not getting you anywhere. So trust me on that. And the fastest way to get good at something is to be bad at it as quickly as humanly possible. Strategy 6, get around the right people, please. I emphasize please here because this is about social acceleration. You become the average of the people you spend the most time with. So if you want to level up faster, you need to upgrade your environment. And that can mean online too. This is actually mostly what it was for me. Online, if you want to level up faster, you have got to get these things in order. This does not mean necessarily ditching your current friends or never talking to your family again, but it really does mean intentionally seeking out people who are already operating at your target level. So that can mean joining communities, attending in-person events. If you really need to, engaging with content creators in your space. Shout out. This is exactly what I did in my early days. I am telling you this from experience. I reach out to people that I find cool, that I find interesting. Half the time they are replying to me within the same day. This is a real thing if you just put yourself out there. Again, it goes back to not being afraid to fail. It is like if they do not respond, who cares? So the secret is here. Do not just consume, contribute, actually be of value to somebody. Do not just be a fan. Try to talk to them and try to learn from them. Try to bring value to their life too. Share your progress publicly. This is what so many content creators do nowadays. And this also, a side note here, creates accountability and attracts other people on similar journeys. That is what I talk about, where there are these 3 pillars of content. If you are not smart, you cannot educate people. That is okay. You can inspire people. Look at Brad Scales. He is a great example of that. He did not start off as this master marketer, but he has really scaled crazily these last couple years, or not even years, in the last couple of months. So he is a good example of that, and I would say collaboration beats competition every time. Instead of trying to outdo others, find ways to rise together, if you will. The fastest progressors build networks, not just skills on their own. So think about that. The last one here, the compound effect of small wins. This is not really even necessarily a point. It is just a reminder. This ties everything together. This is the glue. Understanding the compound effect, most people want these dramatic transformations overnight. But real progress happens through small, consistent improvements that compound over time. And for the life of me, I cannot remember what the actual numbers are. But Tony Robbins said most people underestimate what they can do in a year or 5 years, I think. And they overestimate what they can do in a month or something along those lines. And it is so true. When we get that gist of motivation, we are so good. We are so hyped up. We try it for maybe a week or 2 weeks, a month. And then if it does not work, we do not get a first paying client, we give up. It is like, how stupid is that? That is just dumb. So track your leading indicators, not just your results. Instead of just tracking weight loss, track your workouts completed. Instead of just tracking income, track your skills developed and your connections made, because that all ties into the glue. Celebrate your small wins along the way. This is not just about feel-good advice. It is literal science. Every small victory releases dopamine, which motivates you to keep going. So that will build discipline, but you do need to get those quick wins first. And I talk about that on my consult calls. So again, this is a nice little 7-piecer, if you will. If you have any questions, let me know. As always, if you made it this far, I want to see you win. Thank you for your time.